Now, before the cleansing begins, the first words today from our Tech Marine. It's actually Skysilver rocking the Tech Marine, so expect a lot of turrets. He has dubbed himself Russia today. He's going to be allied with the Korean champion of 1v1, Critical 32, but the problem is we're not in 1v1, we're in 2v2, so we'll see how he does. And these guys are going to be facing today against Mostafa as a Hive Tyrant and Seraf as the Ravener Alpha, a duo of Tyrannid Might. The map is Calderis Refinery, meaning that one of the players from each team has the full responsibility of being in the lane with the majority of the team's generators. Creates a interesting dynamic, and potentially an opportunity here for Seraf as the Ravener Alpha, who might be able to build some tunnels and sneak behind the opposition and get some good gen bashes off. So you can see over here it's going to be Mostafa's forces that need to protect this gen farm against potential harassment from Skysilver. Now, if Skysilver can manage to do a good push and build a turret on the gen farm, he could actually steal the opponent's gen farm, or he could try to turret this up, maybe from over here or something. It's still vulnerable to a flank, not the best place to turret. Compared to if you put a turret here, you can't flank that, you're going to need jump units. And Tyrannid jump units are okay, Raveners, but they're not quite as good as something like ASM. So we'll see. Over here, the Orcs fighting the Tyrannids, generally going to be a little bit advantageous to the Tyrannids early on, prior to the Orcs getting their upgrades. Both the upgrades and the knobs on the Orc boys make them scale really well, but by default, Tyrannids are just really cost effective. Can the Hormiguns kill the Sluggers here? One more hit would do it. Doesn't look like they can get that hit, unfortunately. Hormigunt's going to back off and relocate to go after the power node instead. We got dual warriors coming out for the Nids. Looks like Mostafa lost the fight here against Skysilver. And we got Ravener doing a bit of harassment on the sides. Seraf trying his best. Termagant's not so good at gem bashing though. Hormigunt's a lot better. They get the node, they're going to run out of there. Now, destroying the node, it's not going to reduce the power income of the blue team too much, but the thing is, it's going to delay them getting further gens up. So actually, it delays their power income from increasing for a long time, and so the real impact of that is actually quite high. Oh, he only got one warrior there with a stun bomb, the leap dodging most of it, but there's just too many boys. Two squads of shooter boys still with 5 models, the K-Nobs still hanging around, and then you got the burners and the sluggers giving them that little bit of supplemental power melee. Can the Ravener make it out alive? He's going to get hit by another couple of snipers. No, he doesn't. Damn. Yeah, that caught Seraf by surprise. He was chilling in the green cover, very resilient in the green cover against the bolters, but snipers go around green cover and do full damage, and he wasn't paying attention. He took the full damage from the 2 sniper shots, and then it was just too much range pew pew. Difficult, I suppose, as units were split up over quite a large location. Did manage to decap that. I mean, Seraf's telling Mostafa to rush tier 2, but he's going for another Hormigun squad, so he's not really rushing tier 2. Yeah, well, he's saying now he ain't gonna rush. Be able to put a lot of pressure on with the Hormiguns from Mostafa against the snipers. The problem is that for Russia, he's quite happy because he doesn't have any gens to lose. So if the big melee horde runs down here and he has to retreat after killing a few models, what does he lose? He just gets a few points decapped. As long as there's no power over here, it's not really a big deal. If this was the other way around and you had the snipers up here and the Hormiguns coming, it'd be a disaster if he has to retreat all his ranged units and then get the Hormiguns onto these gens. This is why this map's very unique. You really do have to think about who is in charge of the gen farm side. And usually you will see the players on the gen farm sides going a bit heavier, especially if their lane partner is going heavier. Things like the sniper scouts would actually facilitate a fast tier 2 by Mostafa, and that probably would have been a better play for him because sniper scouts can't really gen bash. Space Marines do get the utility of having the option of a flamer, which not a lot of factions get, but still, As long as you can force off the flamer, then you know that nothing here can really bash particularly fast. Now critical on the other hand has to be a lot more concerned, because really the amount of range DPS that Seraf has now with 2 upgraded Termagants and Raveners, quite a lot. And then he's got the Hormignots too. So a lot of gem bashing potential here for Seraf. I wonder if he got the Bow Strangler prior to the snipers, because getting a Bow Strangler when the snipers seems very silly. I feel like you just want to save the money, get to tier 2, get your adrenal glands to become really tanky, and go from there. Seraf maybe not paying attention in the mid. Okay, he is. He's going to get out of there. Turn gets nice and quick. Gets another model and peels off. Seraf putting on amazing pressure against critical. As I said though, Tyranids generally are advantageous against the Orcs in tier 1. Things change a little bit in tier 2 when the Orcs can get their Slugger Knob. Stormboy Knob when they do have the Stormboys. You do typically go Stormboys against Tyranids. Odd to not see them. Weird Boy can be really helpful as well. And the Death Dread. The Death Dread's good. So let's see. Looters need to prioritise the Warriors. They do. That's going to cause a bit of backlash. I was wondering if the Raveners were going to commit, but it would be a bad fight. There's a lot of range DPS here. You've got to remember Raveners are only light infantry, even though they are tanky. At least on a per model basis. Looks like the dual Hormignots of Mostafa doing some good work here. Killed the Tech Marine. Bleeding a few models now. They're trying to rotate around to get onto the Devastators here, in tandem with the Warrior Brood. A little bit of damage coming in. Nothing too crazy. Sniper's going to force off the Termagants, but the Termagants aren't the threat here. These two are the threat. As you can see, Hormignots ripping those Devastators to pieces, actually going to wipe them. Beautifully done. But Strangler is just going to path forward and suppress the Snipers. They have to get out of there. And now, honestly, the Termagants and the Warriors are probably going to win this fight fairly convincingly. Yeah, kill a Tactical Space Marine. Mostafa probably just wants to retreat out of here before he starts losing models, but he can claim another Space Marine here. This guy... Wow. Oh my god, is he going to wipe them? He does! He wipes the tax! Wow, that's huge. Yeah, Overseeing is welcome here. Take that win. Don't bleed any models. What a great victory there for Mostafa. Wow. Rossier is now down to just 2 scout squads. That's really bad for him. Very little field presence. Very lucky for the blue team that it is Rossier who doesn't have the gens in his lane. Oh, that could be basically GG right there. So he's going to use the drop pod, calling some Tactical Space Marines. One thing to note about this ability, I don't know if the patch will be out by the time I'm releasing this video, but in the next patch after 2.9.9.1, it is going to be the case that you can't drop in Tactical Space Marines, you must drop in Stern Guard immediately, and they're really expensive. So it would be difficult in circumstances like these where you want to get a field presence very fast, early in tier 2, especially if you don't have the power. Not a problem for Rossier here, but it could have been in a different circumstance. Regardless, he is going to have his Tactical Marines for now. And we've got the Weird Boy coming out for Critical 32. Critical loves the Weird Boy. I mean, even in Elite Mod, after a lot of nerfs, it's still very, very powerful. But it's absolutely vital in Retail, where Critical spent most of his time in Dawn of War 2. We do have the Stern Guard veterans in play once again. You see the Warpath here buffing the speed of all the Orcs, giving them extra damage resistance as well, and the Sluggers with the War plus the Warpath. Very speedy, trying to get into melee with that Venom Brood and cause some backlash. But that's a beautiful Warp Vomit there from the Weird Boy. Weird Boy now going to charge forward, going into melee with the Venom Brood, which seems a little unusual. Probably wants to be going into melee with the Raveners. Oh, well, really just wants to be shooting them, doesn't he? But Warriors here, you see, they don't have their adrenal glands, so they're really quite fragile when they're fighting against all this power melee of the Slugger Knob and the Burners. Especially when War is active from multiple squads of boys, buffing up the damage of those Sluggers. Signum Armor is apparently going to be the choice here for the Tech Marine. That's a single target ability that it's used. Mark Target is the ability. Causes that target to take more damage. So good to focus fire down key targets. It actually affects vehicles and monstrous creatures, so it'll be very good for focus firing this Tyrant Guard with Melter or Plasma damage. And you will need that because the Tyrant Guard is actually super heavy infantry armor, so basic piercing damage from small arms Not going to do really anything to that guy. Though melee will be good, and mark target somewhat counterintuitively does increase the damage of melee as well. We've got a melee Ravener, that's pretty cool. You don't see this very often. So he's gone for the hardened carapace, which gives him the ability to burrow. And the notable thing about this... Oh, wow, wow, he nearly catches the looter and retreat there with a Tyrant Guard, which is quite impressive. Especially given it's out of Synapse, so moving very slow. But yeah, the notable thing here for the melee build of the hardened carapace is that you can burrow, and then if you hit retreat, when he will emerge from his burrow as he retreats, but as he does that, it will yeet all enemies around them. It will do knockback in an AoE around him. So that's quite useful to get out of tricky, sticky situations in melee. But the downside is you don't get knockback immunity, and if you go for the hardened chitin, you get knockback immunity, more maximum HP, and you get a slow debuff on any enemy that hits you in melee, which makes it very hard to get away from the Ravener Alpha, which is good with the Acid Splatter when you're doing a lot of AoE damage to infantry squads, like these Orc boys. They will suffer quite a lot to the carapace, but the advantage is you get to burrow as well with this, which is basically infiltration. You get more energy too, but he doesn't really need the energy. So let's see, big fight here, going to lead with a nice special attack there from the Tyrant Guard, quite fortunate. Hive Tyrant is also present here, charging in, using a Psychic Scream, so the damage of all these boys is now debuffed for quite a long time. I'm not sure what the Weird Boy is doing charging forward here. Moved a little bit too far from his boys. The problem now for the Tyranids is that this Tyrant Guard is very isolated, and the Tyrant Guard out of Synapse, very slow to move, but here comes some support. The rest of Seraf's army, I guess that was mostly commitment there from Mostafa, which was weird because it's Seraf's half of the map, but now the Tyrant Guard is isolated. You've got all the boys charging after it under the Warpath buff, which has now run out due to the energy on the Weird Boy running out entirely. Tyrant Guard is going to go in Shield Wall, which now gives it vehicle armor, and going to wait for the support of Seraf. The Hive Tyrant was routed, no weapon upgrade on him yet, but he does have that extended carapace. We've seen him charging in. Just a distraction, basically. Going to take out the Commander Knob in retreat. These sluggers look like they're in a bad spot too. Are these Death Spitters? They are. We've got some Death Spitters, so a lot of range damage coming out of Seraf's blob right now. Double Termagants, Raveners, and Death Spitters. Death Spitters, 26 Inferno DPS each. Very nice anti-all infantry weapons. Snipers, I think, shooting at Termagants there, which is a mistake. They definitely need to be focus firing these Venom Brood. Plasma Gun now donned by the Tech Marine. That's going to put a lot of pressure as well onto the Venom Brood. Really want to tie him up in melee. Attempted nade spike there into a Plasma overcharged by the Tech Marine is going to rout those Warriors of Seraph. They are Adrenal Glands and they are tanky. So they're going to be going in first, tanking damage whilst his actual ranged assets do what they can. Stern Guard managing to get in green cover here is going to be a pretty bad time for the Tyranids. Yeah, they're going to retreat. But Skysilver was putting all of his focus on that eastern portion of the map, so Mostafa is now back on the field with his speedy little Termagants, and he is taking parts of the map on the side. Melee Raveners too, interesting. And the Hormagaunt Horde leaping on top of the Stern Guard there, no protection. All the abilities down on the Tech Marine, no anti-melee really. Those guys are going to have to get out of here. But once again, you see the Weird Boy Slugger combo, very effective with the speed buff to all the nearby orcs, plus the speed buff from the War. Threatening retreat wipes, but the Raveners managed to get out just alive. So now we've got the Ravener Alpha in here again, but he's getting shot up by big shooters. Of course, the shooter knob for the shooter boys does detect, hence why you can see this red visual effect right now, because they can see him. And they're going to focus fire him, and he really needs to get out of there. He's going in for the burrow because he wanted the disruption, and he gets, well, he partially gets it. It doesn't really matter. He gets out of there alive. They're going to get routed anyway. Too much melee here. Look at this, way too much melee. Warriors, double Hormagaunts, Hive Tyrant, and a Tyrant Guard. It's a lot of melee for these orcs to deal with, so they're going to retreat straight out of there. Now, all the players in the meantime have actually totally stopped investing in Tier 2. They, in fact, have all teched to Tier 3, and I've just noticed the VPs as well. Massive VP advantage for the red team. Tyranids, though, they can definitely fall off in Tier 3 if they can't get a whole train of Carnifex out. Now, generally, they're prohibited by the immense amount of power that would cost, but to be fair, they've never been bashed all game, so really they should be in a good spot in terms of power, so we'll see. We've certainly got plenty of time. We'll see what the tier 3 options here for the blue team can do. Is this a Venerable Dreadnought? It is indeed. Okay, Venerable Dreadnought's going to come out and start a tango with the Tyrant Guard. Once again, the Tyrant Guard finding itself rather out of position, and a looted tank is going to be the first tier 3 choice for the Orcs. Makes sense. Tanks and transports very good against the Tyranids due to their lack of a long-range snare. Their only snare being the 4-axe swarm, and then Rippers being a very small partial snare. All the crippling talons on the Ravener Alpha, but all of that shouldn't really ever catch a tank or a transport. And the looted tank of all the tanks, if you didn't know, has the highest damage per hit. Not DPS, because it fires very slow, but each individual cannon shot does more damage than its competitors, and has by far the highest amount of splash damage as well. What does that mean in reality? Well, what it means is that actually the looted tank is one of the best tanks for hit and runs. Because your DPS doesn't really matter if you're just moving forward, shooting one shot and then driving away. You actually would generally take a drop in DPS for a higher DPH in that instance. And that's great for hit and runs against the Tyranids. You'll see if this looted tank can hit the gaunts, man, it'll take off like half of their health in one shot. It's really powerful. But we already see a Venom Cannon Carnifex from Mostafa to try and combat that tank and the Venerable Dreadnought. Now, he's going to need another source of AV though, because the Venom Cannon, while it does really good long-ranged AV, it doesn't have... Why are they lolling? Wait, why are they lolling? Why are they lolling? What did I miss? Not sure. Turret? Maybe the turret. Yeah, Venom Cannon Carnifex is going to do quite a lot against this turret. A Venom Cannon Carnifex also will be able to outtrade a looted tank quite easily, but there's a lot of repair support actually going on right now. Bear in mind you've got a Tech Marine who can repair, double scouts as well. Okay, missile launcher turret. That's it's a threat. So the problem is for the Carnifex, it can't be repaired, so it has to go back to the base to fully heal, unless you've got a zone for up, and that will increase the natural regen quite a bit, and they also can get an active ability to heal. So that might be something for the Tyranids to consider now, especially if they start to get multiple of these things out. We've got a bit of a flank here from Raveners, but it was quite ineffective. Way too much support right now. Ooh, Mac target on the Carnifex as well. It really needs to get back. Taking huge amounts of damage from the missile turret, but a big flank here from the Tyranid melee is going to take out the turret. However, the Venerable Dreadnought's there to counter-initiate and actually wipes one of the Hormigons. We're also seeing a second looted tank coming in for critical. A really good tier 3 composition for the Orcs to fight dual Tyranids, I would say. We're going to be seeing a Barbed Strangler Carnifex coming out for Seraf. An unusual choice, probably a really bad one. Probably wanted another Venom Cannon Carnifex, to be honest. This is a lot of AV that needs to be... Well, not a lot of AV, you know, a lot of AV needed to take out these 3 vehicles. Second Carnifex coming out for Mostafa. The problem with these ranged Carnifex, though, is that they are quite vulnerable to the Venerable Dreadnought because they lose their melee resist when they get that ranged weapon. So the Venerable Dreadnought will really go to town on them if it can get into melee with them. So compositionally, I'm quite actually enjoying the blue team's comp right now. Tech Marine pushing forward with the Venerable Dreadnought is going to be quite awkward to dislodge. Yeah, dual Venom Cannons coming up from Mostafa. That's going to be needed. I don't think the Barbed Strangler was a very good idea. I don't really see many infantry threats here. I mean, you've got shooters and you've got scouts. The only really fearsome infantry squad would be the sluggers, but meh. Odd to see no Hive Tyrant upgrade here. Crushing Claws you would have thought would make a hell of a lot of sense. But I don't really know what this Venerable Dreadnought's doing. It's been standing here in front of the dual Carnifex with Venom Cannons for a very long time. Gonna need to try and hit it with a bioplasma here. Probably moving forward to get line of sight. If one goes this way and the other one goes this way, he might be able to pincer the Dreadnought. Right now he might not have sight. Okay, he should have sight now. Yeah, this Venerable Dreadnought's dead. It's deed! It can get into melee with this Carnifex. Pew 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 pew. Just melee it. Just melee it, for God's sake. He's got like no HP. Okay, there you go. Venerable Dreadnought activates its stoicism, so it can fight for a bit longer before... Okay. I think Sky was asking Critical to save him there with his Venerable Dreadnought, but... not really possible. It was super deep. I don't know why it was hanging out so forward. As soon as he seen the two Carnifex, he needed to pull that Vendread back. It would be great in the big team fights alongside the tanks, but... I don't get it. Here comes the rocks. Let's see how that's going to do. I mean, it's mostly against Carnifex, which don't get knocked over, and that means it's quite easy for them to dodge. The Warriors do get into melee, but with marked target and a plasma gun, they're probably going to have to retreat fairly soon. Ooh, that's a nice Barb Strangler, though. Gets a big hit against the vehicles. Barb Strangler will do damage to vehicles if it can hit them. It's just usually it can't hit tanks because it's really slow firing as a projectile. So big cannon shots here going into the turn units. They get routed with one model left. What was that? A bit of backlash from the Death Spitters, I think? Yeah. And the last cannon right now is equipped on the Predator, which is going to give it a lot of punching power against the Venom Cannon Carnifex. I think it will still lose. Oh, man. Oh, he's gone for double Bow Strangler. Is he mad? Dude. Gets another really good hit there on the Carnifex, but I really think he needed to have a Venom Cannon, not a Bow Strangler. Yeah, this is not good. Not good. Yep, instantly takes it out. Shooter Boys can go into melee here. Stop that Carnifex from firing. Yep, and the last cannon kills it. Seraf throwing quite hard here, going for dual Stranglethorn cannons. It's not. That was a terrible idea. There's no debate about it. I mean, you're against a Tech Marine. And then Critical did really well, just he knew. Stranglethorn cannon. I'll just go triple looted tanks. I've got the repair support from scouts and the blessing of the Omnicide Global from the Tech Marine. Yeah, I'll just go triple looted. And it wasn't countered. You know, if your enemy's spamming a unit, then you need to spam the counter. And the counter to looted tanks is not a Barb Strangler. It is Venom Cannon Carnifex. Between the actual Venom Cannon Pew Pew plus the Bioplasma, would have killed these tanks quite easily. I don't think they turtled till they got tanks. Rosia was unable to push against this Gen Farm. He was losing against Mostafa for most of the game. And Seraf was winning over here as well, so they didn't have a choice. Rather, they managed to cling on to the game long enough to get tanks, and then once they got tanks, then they didn't overextend, which is all uncritical, to be honest, because Rosia did overextend. He overextended his Venerable Dreadnought way too deep and got it killed for no reason, really, against Mostafa, and that Venerable Dreadnought would be very useful in the middle. But it's really commendable how he's used his looted tanks here, Critical 32, using them very well. And this is how you have to play the Orcs. You've got to use them aggressively in the right situations, coming in and out. And just as I say that, he's about to lose a looted tank now because he's showing rear armor to a flank of double Venom Cannon Carnifex and a Focus Warp Blast from the Zone Throw. There's the Caster's Curse for you once again. Check it out, we've got the Bonded Exoskeleton on the Hive Turret, so he uses that ability to go invulnerable and allows him to get onto the central VP, but can he finish the cap? The Weird Boy needs to start shooting at the Hormagaunts instead, but the cap got disrupted anyway because one of the Warriors was taken out and the Backlash knocked over the Hormagaunts. So everything's running into melee now to try and tie up the Carnifex, but even with the Venom Cannon, they do retain, beautiful Bioplasma, they do retain their special attacks, and that's leading to the wipe of one of those Shooter Boys. They might not have melee resist, but look at them, they've got a hell of a lot of talons, and they're still pretty scary in melee. So Bioplasma there takes out another one of the looted tanks, so that's 2 of them down, 1 from the flank, 1 from the Bioplasma, only 1 looted tank left, and it looks like Critical 32 is not paying attention in the middle to his Weird Boy, which gets killed by Hormagaunts. I don't know what he's paying attention to, Critical 32, what's he looking at? It's like he's gone. He lost his main looted tank over here as well, to these double Venom Cannon counter effects pushing forward. Critical 32 is quite frustrated. There's a lot of Carnifex on the field right now. Did you know that the plural of Carnifex is Carnifex? What does it mean? Does it mean butcher in Latin or something? Something like that. Good daughter. What? Yeah, Rosia here, unfortunately, not pulling his weight. I don't know what happened in that final engagement there. Lost his Predator with the last cannon too. And I guess the sniper's always on repair duties. There's value in that. It's just, it feels like when you're playing Space Marines, if you're not constantly infiltrating scouts and sending them down to decap naturals like this, then you're missing out on a lot of value of playing Space Marines in a team game, to be honest with you. But there you go, that was the game. A little bit of crazy Tyranid swarm action against some Orcs and Tech Marines. Hope you did enjoy this thing. Please leave a comment if you like the 2v2 content. It kind of comes in waves. It's hard to get the 2v2 replays. We've got a few of them now, so hopefully, if this does well in the views, then we shall get more 2v2s. And if you want it to do well in the views because you want to get more 2v2s, then you know how to help that happen. You leave a comment down below and you like the video. That's going to be all from your boy Torpid this time. I am signing out.